Hey everybody, welcome to Nomadic Moments. I'm your host Jake. Today we're going to continue our series on our truck renovations that we did to our home and camper, Yolam. We're going to be covering the removal of our hinged back wall on the Palomino Bronco 1500 and replacing it with this vinyl canvas. So let's take a look. We've got this old Bronco camper and we're going to be taking out the back wall. It allows you to have a full-size door, which is kind of nice, but it makes dropping the camper harder. Usually on pop-ups you can just turn on the fan and it'll suction all the fabric in and you can just drop the roof and you're good to go. On this one, because you have to drop that back wall, it folds down, you lose all your pressure, so you end up having to tuck all the fabric in, so it's kind of an annoyance. It's also just a hazard. Like, I've hit my head on that thing like 7 times already when it's folded down. Yeah, it hurts. And I also need the pieces to plug the holes where the refrigerator was, which is a whole nother task. So I got this fabric. It's canvas fabric, vinyl, whatever you want to call it, for the camper. I'm just gonna fill in the space with this and then put zippers on the old stuff and zippers on the new stuff so we can zip in the panel there. I've got this track. It's a metal track. It's got a little opening here for sliding the fabric into, so that'll go across the top of the door to hold it all together. And then I've got some vinyl track as well to go at the top that'll hold the canvas in at the top, keep it all tight. So that's the project. As the projects go, getting the existing fabric off is actually relatively easy. It sits in this track up here and in the track down here at the bottom, and then in the corner there is a locking pin, just like this. It just sits in there and screws into the wall. You just remove that and then you're able to pull it out of the track relatively easily. Pops off and you can do what you need. Had I known that was going to be so easy, I might have considered redoing the entire fabric while I was doing this and just making it all the same color. The one caveat is trying to figure out how to do the windows, so that's why I chose not to do it. Here we are, ready to go. The waterproof thread doesn't fit on my sewing machine, so I had to stack it on top there. Hopefully I can get it to come off without too much of a pain. Otherwise this may be a 2-person project. The thread's really thick, so I'm hoping my machine's up for it. I think it is. I've done some pretty thick fabrics before. I'm in no way a professional seamster, but I've done a few fabric projects. I've inset the zipper, got my needles in it, inset it about an inch, a little over an inch from the edge. This will be my overlap, and then the new fabric will just sit right behind it, and that should keep most of the weathering off. I left the Velcro in there. I may put Velcro on the new piece just to kind of give it some protection to the zipper. This is it, ready to go. So I'm going to sew it in and then we'll put it back in the track. So I thought I'd take a minute and just talk about this product. It's the seam sealer I'm putting on the fabric. It's kind of neat. First of all, I cleaned the groove there where I put the sewing in and with rubbing alcohol. And then this guy has a little plunger right on the top. You see it? It's that little red thing. And you literally just push down on the fabric and it releases the contents, and then you just kind of dab it all the way along, releasing it. You can tell I've already put it on there. It's kind of shiny. So I'm gonna let that dry and then we'll apply it to the other side and then put the fabric back on. So I'm gonna drill the hole pattern in the piece of metal to fit the screws that are already in the frame on top of the wall here that hold the door in. It's gonna just go straight across right through here, and that'll hold the fabric. The fabric will be pinched on the back side in that track. So this whole door piece that folds in and down and up is going to come off completely. That's what we're going to do. We're going to drill the holes and then stick it on top of that and go from there. We were able to remove the wall. My arm's disappearing. We removed the wall, but when we removed it, like I expected, the walls on the outer kind of shifted a little bit. I was able to compensate for that by cranking down the legs on the outside of the camper on the back side here. And that allowed us to close back the gap to where the holes that I pre-drilled in this. I was able to get that drilled in on both sides, and it's now holding the walls together. So I've got another rail. This one's vinyl. I thought this was going to be lighter, That's why I went with it, because I'm conscious of weight, but the aluminum is actually much lighter. So if I had to do it over again, I would have just ordered 2 of the aluminum rails, but instead I got these vinyl ones. So I'm gonna put one, I'm gonna put them right up there. I've got 2, and then that'll hold the top of the fabric, and the aluminum will hold the bottom of the new fabric. They messed up my order on the fabric, so I realized earlier that they sent 62-inch wide fabric when I asked for 80-inch wide fabric. I can't get this done until that arrives, so it's gonna be next week before I get to finish this project. Yay! Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and attach the vinyl top rail here, and pretty much done with this part of the project for now. So last night I pulled an audible. I didn't like how thin this bar on the back door, spanning the door was. It was basically only the structure holding the camper together. When we opened it up, the walls kind of bent out. So we had to pull everything back to square with that piece. So there was a lot of tension being put on that little thin piece of metal. So it was fine in the moment, but I thought when we got rocking and rolling on some off trails, it might snap. So I decided to change it out. We had this bar that was going across the top of the wall that folded down, so I took it off that wall, and it's much thicker, as you can see. It's probably like 4 inches thick now, piece of metal, with a, like I said, a little groove there on that side. You can see it there, where the door sits in, just like that. So I'll put a little bit of weather stripping right there, and that should do it. I took that bar that we did have, that we bought to hold the fabric, and I just glued it in right there, and that's why these clamps are here right now. They're holding it together while that liquid nails dries. Because this piece was designed originally for that wall, the roof just sits perfectly. When it slides down, it just sits right on that bar, and you've got these probably 3 inches worth of metal backing it when it's down, so that's kind of nice. Alright, so I got my canvas in for the back wall. It was a little delayed, but I got it. So the interior color doesn't match perfectly, but the exterior color is pretty dang close. They make this track. It's basically got a little piece of plastic in there and then a canvas wrapped around it, and you can sew your fabric to the outside. So I already did that. I already got my first piece sewn in. And what I did is I took it out and I just ran it through the track, got it in place, and then that gave me my length measurement. So I'm gonna cut this to length, and then I'm gonna fold it under and put a little hem on it. I'm gonna go ahead and put one of the side zippers in, and I'm gonna put that back in, zip it up. That's gonna give me my left to right dimension, and then we'll cut vertically. I'm gonna put a little fold on that as well, so may not have to cut. It's gonna be pretty dang close. So I've got the fabric pretty much cut to size as far as top to bottom. As you can see, I've got this corner zipped up. I got this extra zipper, I messed up on that, so that'll probably just have to hang there. So that's one thing you could do better than me. So I don't have it in the track yet, so I'm about to go sew the piece that folds over the back and hooks into the bottom of the track. So that's another separate piece, and then we'll stitch it in right here so that it'll fold over, clip into there. I also need to put the zipper back on that side. It's not done yet, but lengthwise it's pretty dang perfect. So I'm just gonna do a little fold over on the end, just wide enough to sit underneath the overlap of the other zipper. So less than ½ an inch fold over, and then do the zipper right there behind it. I got my flat piece all sewn up. So what I did is I went ahead and put it in the track so it's in there, and then just kind of pulled up on it. So you can see I went ahead and pinned the corner, and that'll give me a measurement, and hopefully that works all the way across. I pinned it on the other side too, so that I would have 2 measurements, and I'm going to compare the two, see how accurate it is. If it's far off, then we may try something else. If it's pretty close, then I think I'll have it. One thing I did notice is that the zipper is going to get in the way of sewing this down. You just have to stop a little short of the zipper. So the zipper right now zips the outside together. This just holds the outside into the inside, so it's kind of confusing. But yeah, anyways, so we're gonna take it off, take it inside, get that sewn up, and sew the other zipper on. the outside flap. Yeah, and we'll have it. So hopefully pretty soon we'll be able to try it out, get it all on, and make sure we don't have any gaps. That's what my wife is worried about. She's concerned about the bugs. That is why we did this, though. So we were really concerned about when we park, having to flip up that back wall and how many mosquitoes that would let in and things like that, especially in like Alaska and stuff. So pretty much ready to go. I think it's pretty good if I do say so myself. Got my flap on, got everything tucked in, got it all hemmed at the edges and stuff, double stitched the most stressed points where the piece will slide into the track. I'm gonna put it on and make sure everything works out really well, and then I'll take it back off and weatherproof it. Got the fabric on. Had one little issue that I had to work around. So right here where the door is, it overlapped, and so when the door opened, it would fall into that crease, and then when we go to close it, it was in the way. So we went ahead and cut that out and re-hemmed it. When we removed the panel from the door, we introduced the ability or the possibility of water landing here and running down the channel all the way into the corners. It could roll in down there. So what I've done is, where I had to seal the screw heads, I went ahead and just sealed up the entire way across. And what that's going to do is allow, when the water hits that, to channel off the back and out of the camper. And I did a few on each side, so that hopefully, if it makes it over one, it doesn't make it over all of them. Hopefully that's the case. This was a lot of work, so I really hope that that's the case. So, replace the back wall. We've had this vinyl wall on the back here for a little while, and a few things I've noticed. We're gonna take it off today. Right here in the corner where the two fabrics meet, there's a gap in there. It's not huge, but it's bigger than the gap that's on the front side, and that's just because of the way that we had to match the two fabrics. So what I'm planning on doing is putting just a little bit of Velcro right here, and on both sides of the old fabric and the new fabric. And what that'll allow me to do is just kind of Velcro it to the back wall. That should keep the flap down. So in really windy, rainy weather, it'll help to keep the flap down, and as well it'll keep the flap down, and hopefully it'll keep the bugs out. Well, got the Velcro stitched in there, as you can see. It's kind of blown out, so I just went ahead and stitched the loop side of this Velcro all the way across. It's actually pretty easy. I used a Velcro that has some sticky backing, so I just stuck it on there and then stitched it in. So pretty easy, and I just applied a coat of sealant, yeah, seam sealer, this stuff. So applied that on, and then we'll just let that dry and put on a few more coats. Now I'm gonna go start on the old vinyl. I've got to stitch about 12 inches onto the corner. So I've got the Velcro for the outside sewn in, just like that. As you can see, I've got the vinyl put back on, just slid back into place. So the next step is going to be to go along the edges and put the hook side of the Velcro onto the back of the camper wall. That way it matches up with the loop side on the vinyl there. So I'm just going to do it across the back and on the corners. Hey, that's another renovation project done on Yolam and in the books. It wasn't the easiest project by any means. It takes some sewing skill and some structural skill. Getting that beam in above the door is key, but I have to say it was worth it. The vinyl canvas is so much nicer than that hinged wall. It allows us to tear down our rig and hit the road really fast. If you're thinking about a similar project, hit us up in the comments below or check out the blog, also listed below, that goes along with this post. Until then, we're gonna keep traveling.